I've never used the SteelSeries Sensei before, but I've heard great things about the shape, so when Waizowl decided to make a clone of it, the Waizowl Cloud, I had to pick one up and see what's up. With the Sensei shape and modernized internals, how does the Cloud perform? Well, it's almost perfect to say the least, with only 3 minor factors that stop it from being a top tier mouse. First off, the mouse comes with grip tapes, a set of skates, a cable, and a receiver and mouse dongle. So the grip tapes are pretty nice. They feel similar to the BTL grip tapes, but you most likely won't be needing them. The skates are the larger skates that you can swap into if you don't like the original smaller ones, but you also most likely won't be needing these either. The Cloud is a large mouse, probably bigger than any Ambi mice I have right now. Despite that, the mouse is relatively flat, while having a mid hump that makes it easy to grip even with smaller hands. Sides are not completely flat, but they're not extremely tapered either, and overall it seems like a rather safe shape and is best suited for relaxed claw grip users. While I thought that the relaxed claw grip was a better fit for me, the back of the mouse actually fills the base of my palm pretty well when I aggressive claw it, even though it's mid-hump prominent. If you look at the mouse from below, you can see the wide back hump, which allows a large portion of the base to contact the mouse, but also allowing finer finger motions as the mouse slims down quite drastically, reducing the bulkiness of the mouse near the middle where most people would grip it while clawing. The length of the mouse also further improves relaxed claw grip users, as it allows their fingers to fully, if not mostly, extend without hanging off the edge of the mouse, and it works. I can just slap my hand on this mouse time after time and have no issues instantly finding back my grip. Fingertip on the other hand is fine on this mouse, but if you grip towards the back like I do, you find that the flare might be too wide for your pinky to have a comfortable place to sit. One thing to note is that the sides do suddenly curve down from the top in quite an angle that sort of pokes out, unlike other mice that smoothens out the curves. So if you have your fingers placed high up on the sides, you can actually feel it digging into the side of your finger. The build quality on this is very solid. There's no creaking on my copy even at the base. It is easier to slam click on this mouse compared to other mice, but I don't think that's too big of a deal breaker when the mouse is built like a tank. This quality does rival something like an Endgame Gear mice's level. What doesn't rival Endgame Gear's level is the coding. I've heard people say that the coding is on par with the top dogs, but in all honesty, it's a little step below them. Waizowl calls it the feather coating. It's a smooth surface, which is a strange thing to describe your coating. If you've tried holding a feather, it doesn't have much grippiness to it, and a smooth surface usually leads to a more matte finish, allowing for a smoother feel, but again not as grippy. The coating on the Cloud is an opposite of what they've described in my opinion. It's good and has a rubbery feeling which increases grippiness, but also like other mice with similar surface, it attracts fingerprints quite readily, so under lighting you can see some sweaty prints really well. The difference with the coatings on Lamzu and Endgame Gears mice, however, is that those feel as if the mouse won't fall out regardless of what movement I do with the mouse, whereas I don't get the same feeling with the Cloud. There isn't a need to get grip tapes for this mouse though, it's a really solid coating overall. The Cloud uses Huano blue shell pink dots, and it's surprisingly good. They're a little lighter than the Maya versions of the switches and have little pre-travel and no post-travel at all. They feel good to spam and the buttons have no play to them. They're comparable to the Sora with how light the clicks are, crispy and also not too sharp, though I wish the buttons were a little flatter instead of a curve. The cutouts of the button also don't extend over the front of the mouse, so if you click the mouse towards the very top, you might run into issues with the bottom shell. Side buttons are also very good. They have a little bit of post travel, but it's negligible, and the position is perfect as it sits right above my thumb. The 2K and 4K performance of this mouse is super good. I've had no issues with stuttering at all, and I could use it for way longer. The battery was impressive, especially on 2K, which is what I normally play on, where it lasted almost 5 days with around 6 to 8 hours of use every day. Now I'm going to talk about the things that kind of drag the mouse down. First is the software, and it's decent. It's your typical mouse software that you get with a lot of mice nowadays, and it's absolutely not a problem to use. The setup itself, however, was so tedious for the 4K dongle that you have to get separately, and it looks pretty cool to its credit, but the software wouldn't recognize the mouse even though the manual showed a clear step-to-step process. I've had to unplug the dongle and plug it back in, and also turn the mouse on and off several times just to get it to finally connect. The amount of times I've had to repeat this step until it luckily connected was way more compared to mice like Pulsar and Lamsu's 4K dongles, which kinda makes me appreciate the Final Mouse software more than how much I've already shown appreciation for. Once you do connect it though, it works like a charm, so it's just that setup process that's a problem. Next is the scroll wheel, which is not bad, but it's also not great by any means relative to the rest of the mouse. It has subtle steps, but they feel kind of light, so there might be a problem if you need to scroll in a precise manner. The biggest thing I think that stops this mouse from being great are the stock feet. These skates are not very consistent in how they perform depending on the pad you're using. On faster pads like the Skypad and Energen, they glide really well and have a balanced speed, but on control pads they become quite sluggish with a significant amount of friction when you change directions, so slow pads feel even slower, which isn't ideal. Having a slow glide can be nice on accuracy dependent shooters, but leaning on the extremity of control is just too much. I would swap them out. Overall, this mouse has a solid shape, good clicks and coding, but suffers from inconsistent skates, mediocre scroll wheel, and a troublesome setup phase. In my opinion, the Cloud does come close to being perfect, especially with how good most of the features are. I personally wouldn't mind a scroll wheel at all, but if the skates were a little more consistent and I was to main the claw grip, the Cloud would definitely be a top contender for the best mouse so far into 2024.